Hello and welcome back to another entirely unscripted video. This one is about the Telepathic Instruments Orchid, which I was originally going to do a review of it like back in March when I first got it, and then I didn't do it, and then I noticed that a lot of people seem to want a more in-depth review of one, so I figured I'll just do one now and I'll get it out of the way, and then if things change in the future through updates and stuff, then I'll just, I don't know, I'll make a new video or something. But this is how the Orchid is as of June 3rd when I'm recording this. And so yeah, I got my Orchid as part of the limited 1,000 drop that was in December. I feel so incredibly lucky to have actually gotten one because I think they sold out in like 3 minutes. I could be wrong about that, but it was really, really, really fast. Basically, as soon as I finished ordering, they were already sold out. And full disclosure, I was not at the time when I bought this, but I am now a beta tester, or I have signed an NDA as a beta tester for Telepathic. That's all I'm gonna say. So yeah, but this is still gonna be an unbiased look at the Orchid, as far as all that's concerned. So anyways, I'll go ahead and get it out of its hard shell case, which is really nice that it's included. That's only included for the drop, like limited drop things. My understanding is that for the full release, they're going to make it sold separately. So that's nice. In the hard shell case, you get an Orchid. Very cool. It has a power button, auxiliary out only, a USB-C that's used for both charging and MIDI. Currently only MIDI out. I'm pretty sure I saw Tom say somewhere that they could make it do MIDI in, but I don't know. I right as of this moment, it's only MIDI out over USB. And same thing with the dedicated 5-pin MIDI. That is MIDI out only. So yeah, it's pretty good. There's a little bit of creaking when you and I don't really like that, but this is a first product, and I should say it's a first product for Telepathic Instruments. Like, they have not made a synth before, so it's still a pretty good, way better build quality than I was expecting. But yeah, anyways. So other than the Orchid itself, I'm not sure if this has changed. They've done a second drop, and I don't know if the stuff you get in it is going to be different and how different it's going to be. But for the first drop, you get a Orchid for chords. This is like a little booklet for you to like write down lyrics and chords and stuff. It says on the actual book itself, it says lyrics on the left, chords on the right, or the other way around. This is a space to help you get your ideas out of your head and into the world. Music manuscript concept inspired by Changes Music. So yeah, I haven't used it because I feel like this might one day be like a collector's item or something, so I'm just gonna like hang on to it, and I just have a dedicated notebook for this. The good thing is, I haven't tested it. I have my own notebook. I have never put it in here. There's quite a bit of space for you to actually put stuff in there, so you could probably fit a full-size notebook in there. I'll get into what I put in there in a minute, like what I actually carry on me most of the time. There's also a card, and it has the number. I was Orchid number 739, which I kind of like because those are like some of my favorite numbers. But yeah, I don't know if the second drop is gonna have this or what that's gonna look like. If all the numbers are gonna be over 1,000, or if it's just gonna be like, I don't know. I have no idea because people don't have those yet. So I guess if you do if you're part of the second drop, when your Orchid comes in, let me know, because I'm curious. There's also this compliance statement, which there's not really anything noteworthy. It's all like boring stuff, like obviously like don't plug it into the microwave or whatever. Don't put it in the pool, like shit like that. But like my favorite part about it is on the charging. So it doesn't come with a charging cable or any kind of charger. But in the compliance statement it says, use only the provided charger. Using a different charger may result in fire, explosion, or damage to the battery. And then it says, probably not, but maybe, and nobody wants to be sued in America. There's that if you want to pause it and read it. I don't know, I just find that humorous. There's also this quick start guide, which also is like a poster. So you get your like, and then this is like the poster thing. I'm not going to hang this on my wall also because, like I said, I feel like this is going to be a collector's item one day, and I just really don't want to like, I want to keep all of the like case candy stuff in good condition. But I will play the shit out of my Orchid until it breaks. So yeah, you get that in there. So it looks kind of like a standard MIDI keyboard or synthesizer, but it's quite different in the way that it actually plays notes, because you might look at this and you might think, oh, it's only got one octave. Most of these sounds on here are monophonic, so you can't play like chords normally. There's a few sounds that it'll let you do it, but it's pretty, for the most part, it's monophonic. So you kind of look at this and you're like, how the hell do I even play this? But that's where all of this comes in. So I'm a little out of breath too, so sorry if I'm like whatever. So you have all these buttons here, and these are, you have diminished, minor, major, and suspended. And what you do is you can play like individual notes and melodies just by playing these keys. But you can also hold one of these chord buttons and then press a key, so like the major button, and then I'll press E and I'll get E major, which is pretty cool. And you can obviously do minors and stuff. So yeah, you have all four chord types to work with, but you also have these extensions down here. I'm not sure how well you can see that. It's not the best lighting, but you have sixes, minor sevenths, major sevenths, and ninths. And these you can't obviously play on your own without having a chord button also pressed, but you can add them to any of the four chord types. So for example, if I want an E major 7, I press the major button and the major 7th, and then I get an E major 7th. You can also have any number of the extensions pressed at the same time. Unlike the chord types, you can only have one, obviously, because it would be weird if there was like a E major minor or something. But yeah, so you can have a 6th and a major 7th, again E 6 major 7, or major 7 6. I don't know. I'm not great with like chord notation and stuff, but you get the idea. You can hold them 3 of them down, and then it just notates that as jazz. Or you can hold all 4 of them down at the same time, which is a little tricky to do. You can see it says "what the fuck," which I just absolutely love. I don't know, that's just goofy and humorous. So, anyways, that's how you play chords on it. There is a bit of a learning curve, obviously, to that. It doesn't feel immediately intuitive, like, well, I mean, I don't know, I guess it depends. It's definitely different than playing a traditional MIDI keyboard, but you do get used to it, and there are some like quirks, like, you know, obviously you have to press this button down before this, otherwise it doesn't work. So you can't get a chord by pressing the note and then the chord button. There are different play styles, but that's like a whole nother video in its own, and I don't want to get into that right now. So then obviously you just have this one octave here, which is, I mean, you could do a lot with just this, but it's obviously for a professional tool you'd want it to be able to play more than just one octave. So that's where these two knobs come in. Mainly this bigger one. That's the only one that's really important at the moment, but I'll get into the smaller one in a second. So this is your voicing dial, and as you spin it up or down, it changes the octave range of the keyboard. There's a video from Telepathic themselves that I think shows this visually better than anything I could ever do, and I'll link it in the description, so that way you can check that out, because there's no way I'm going to be able to draw a diagram that's as visually descriptive as what they did. But if I just play with it, so that should give you an idea of kind of what it does. Yeah, I mean, it is pretty fun to just kind of... So, I mean, yeah, you could literally make a song just with that. So, that's the basics, how you play it. The interesting thing, well, this isn't like, I don't know, it's nice that it has it though. If you press this bass button, you can enable it to play bass under it, which is kind of hard to hear through the built-in speakers. I've only really like been able to like actually listen and hear the bass very well. There's like one sound I think it kind of comes through the built-in speakers, but the bass is kind of hard to hear through the built-in speakers. So that would be one thing that I think is kind of a problem. Maybe they should add like a mix menu or something where you can adjust the volume levels and make the bass come through a little better, but I'm trying to remember which one it was. Yeah, it's like sound 5, I think, comes through the best. But yeah, so the smaller dial, that's your bass voicing. So yeah, that just controls the octave of the bass. There's effects, and these are sound dependent, and I'll get into the sounds in a little bit. I'll play every single sound and give you a good demo of what all the sounds sound like. But each sound has its own effects. So this one, I believe this is sound 1, has a reverb, phaser, and chorus. I realize I'm blocking it. It has reverb, phaser, and chorus. And by default, there's like one of them. Usually it's like one of the effects, usually like the main one, that if you just turn this knob, you can control how intense it is. So I'll give you a demonstration of what that sounds like. So that's reverb off, reverb at 10. Yeah, there's also phaser. I don't really hear that one affecting the sound that much, but maybe it's just the built-in speakers. And then there's chorus. That one I can definitely hear a lot more. And it's without any effects. So, there's also a looper mode, and that's very handy for like, you have an idea really quickly and you just want to like loop it, and you can also change the sound while looping it, which is pretty cool. I'll fuck with it. So there you go. There's like a little thing. It also has overdubs, so you can be like, that's a bug. Oh, that's great. So I love that right as I'm trying to demo the looper feature that there's like a horrible bug. My experience with it has been pretty good. I've not had, granted, I don't use the looper that much, but the times I have used the looper, I've never had problems, but that is interesting. Anyways, I don't know. They're working on the looper though. I know it had a lot more problems when it was brand new, but they've since come out with an update that has fixed a lot of the problems with the looper. Yeah, so you have that, and then I kind of messed around with it when I was trying to figure out how to stop the looper, but you also have BPM control. So you can have like a built-in metronome if you're trying to work something out, and you want it to be in time. It goes all the way up to 200, and then I think it goes all the way down to 60. So pretty good range there. It would be nice if it was like totally unlocked, so you could go down to like 1 and then like all the way up to like 1,000 or something. I know that this is like a super duper niche thing, and most music is gonna fall within that 60 to 200 range, but just for like flexibility and like, you know, those weird cases where somebody does need, you know, like their songs at 30 beats per minute for like whatever reason, you know, just to have it. So yeah. There's also a key mode, which is one of my favorite modes that the Orchid has, because it makes songwriting super duper easy, because you hit this key button, you just like press it in, and then you can turn the dial to change which key you want to play in. So if I want to play in A, for example, that would be A major. You don't actually have to press these buttons to get a chord. By default, it just plays a chord, and it will quantize, I guess you could say, all the notes within to be within the key that you've selected. So like, if I start playing just all across the keyboard, these are all going to be in key with each other, and you'll know that, you'll notice that like in this case, these two keys are playing the same chord. I mean, I don't know. That's a little janky to me, but like I guess it makes sense given the mode. But like, yeah, you have duplicate chords on some of the keys, but in some cases you get like the same chord, but like it's a different variation of it, like this E and then E sus. And then if you're in geek out mode, which is my favorite mode for the display, it'll actually show you which notes are in the key, if you can see that. So that'll make things a little easier for like writing melodies and stuff. I mean, that's the other great thing about the Orchid, is like it's not just a great tool for just being able to be like, oh, I'm just going to be, you know, I hear a chord progression in my mind and I just want to play around with a whole bunch of different chord variations really quickly and without thinking about it and without having to, you know, pull up music theory stuff, you know, just to make it super duper easy. It's also a great learning tool for people that don't know that much about music theory. Like, I wouldn't consider myself a complete beginner when it comes to music theory. Like, I know the basics and I know how to get around in music, but I wouldn't consider myself necessarily an expert. And I find that even me, I still learn a lot of stuff just by messing with the Orchid and stuff about music that I didn't know before. So yeah, I've been making music since I was 13, so that's like 5 or 6 years now, and I'm still learning new stuff. I mean, I'm still learning new stuff regardless, but the Orchid has definitely helped in learning about music. So the other thing that it has, other than effects, is it has performance modes, and these are pretty handy. So you can think of this like, you know, you can make it do an arpeggiator, but it also has some other like more novel ones, like this strum thing. Like if I turn it up, there's also like 2-octave variations of some of these. Like the strum has a 2-octave variation, which I like. So with these, the lower the number is, the quicker it goes through it. And so like 10 would be like the slowest. So yeah, that's nice. There's also this slop one, which kind of is meant to mimic like human hands playing like a real piano, kind of sloppily. And I do believe it is velocity sensitive. I could be wrong though, but I feel like it's a little more precise the harder you hit it. But that could just be like me imagining things. I have no idea. Obviously, 10 is the slowest setting. Then there's your standard arpeggiator, and the settings for these are a little different because they're not like 1 through 10, but these are 8 for 8 notes, and there's up, down, and then up, down, and then there's 16 up, 16 down, 16 up, down. And much like the strum setting, there's also a 2-octave version. And then there's this pattern performance mode, and I actually haven't messed around with it at all, so this will actually be a live reaction to the sounds and stuff. It'll be my first time experiencing it. So that's all the patterns. I could see some use cases for that, especially considering that you don't really have much control on this over, you know, like on a standard MIDI keyboard, you could like be like, okay, I'm gonna play the root note, and then, you know, the 3rd or the 5th or whatever. You know, you don't have control over that here. You just, you know, chord button and then whatever note you want to be the root note of the chord. So there is use case there. On a standard MIDI keyboard, I would be like, what's the point? But I do see the use case. But this is my favorite mode that's on the Orchid. It's called Heart. And this is like strum, but it like does it through all the octaves, and it starts from the bottom. So no matter what your voicing is, it's all going to sound the same. Like, it doesn't matter. They're all... Of course, velocity does matter. That's the only reason they sound different. I realize I'm like doing different velocity. But yeah, and this is same thing. 10 is the slowest. And then 1 would be the fastest. But yeah, that's my favorite mode. I use it a ton. It just makes everything so like theatrical and cinematic and like crazy. So anyways, with that out of the way, that's like most of the core functionality of the Orchid. So now for the sounds. I'm going to play the same chord progression on it for simplicity's sake, but I'm not going to use the looper because they have different, each sound has its own performance modes, and I don't want to, because those, I feel like those are kind of part of the sounds. So I'm just going to play them manually. So this is sound 1. Sound 2. Sound 3. Sound 4. Sound 5. Sound 6. Sound 7. Sound 8. Sound 9. Sound 10. Sound 11. Sound 12. Sound 13, which is one of my favorites. And then sound 14, which is another one of my favorites. Sound 15. And I've seen a lot of people saying that sound 15 is missing, but it's actually just a really slow building pad. You have to hold it down for a little bit before you actually hear the note. So if anybody says sound 15 is missing, just tell them to hold it down for a little bit longer. This is sound 16. Sound 17. Sound 19. Wait. we skip 18? Okay. Oops. There's some jankiness with the knobs for sure. Sound 18. Sound 19. I actually really like that. That's pretty. Sound 20. Sound 21. Sound 22. Sound 23. Sound 24. Sound 25. Sound 26. Sound 27. Sound 28. Sound 29. Sound 30. Sound 31. Sound 32. Sound 33. Sound 34. Sound 35. Sound 36. Sound 37. Sound 38. Sound 39. Sound 40. Sound 41. Sound 42. Sound 43. Sound 44. Sound 45. Sound 46. Sound 47. Sound 48. Sound 49. And one of my personal favorites, sound 50. Not because it's like particularly pretty, it just sounds very like ghostly and like ethereal, and I kind of like that. So, yeah. Another thing worth noting, because these all have their own performance modes and stuff, if you want the performance mode to stay the same when changing sounds, so like, let's say that I have it on harp and I want it to stay on harp 3, you press and hold the perform button until the light turns on. And now if you change sounds, they're all going to have that same performance mode. You can also do the same thing with the effects. So if there's a sound that has a certain effect that you like this one has reverb, delay, and chorus, you can just press and hold the effects, and then that will lock the effects, and they'll all be the same for like all the sounds. There's also a volume setting. Which is nice. I like the visual that they give. I don't know, it just looks kind of cool. Although it does make me feel a little weird that it only goes up to 99 and not 100, but I understand why they would have done that, considering that there's not enough space on the display to put 100, but yeah.